Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. As promised, the Patreon edition, we pick up the conversation with my guy Rory from Rory and Maul.
Together, I'm actually very excited.
No,
And
listen,
Lotto, and
that was
Lotto is my favorite female rapper. I hate to do the female rapper thing, but by far my favorite female rapper, new female rapper right now.
Lotto, big Lotto, huh?
Did you listen to her album?
No,
It's good.
should I?
Yes.
I really enjoyed her when she came and did the show. I enjoyed talking to her. I thought she was a cool person. I will give that a listen.
And an artist, and it sucks that we always have to bring this up, and I don't know if I'm making myself part of the problem when it comes to the surge of the female rappers. I did 2 studio sessions with Lotto. She writes all her shit. Like that's her. That's not help. Lotto is in there.
That's interesting. That's an interesting note. And Lotto and City Girls could be fun. It's called Bills Paid. Kind of figure we know where they're going with that record. All
I
right,
promise you, Lotto washes everybody on it.
so you brought up Kendrick earlier. Was the implication on Kendrick that you don't think the album has re-listen ability?
No, but I also think I'm a psychopath.
Go ahead.
So I can listen to that type of stuff. I and we talked about this on Maul and I's pod. I know what it's like at 32 years old to listen to this album and where Kendrick is at in life, because Kendrick and I are around the same age, maybe 2 years apart. We're going through similar life things at the same time, as far as adulthood and fully understanding yourself, fully understanding what your childhood did to you, fully understanding what your family did to you, fully understanding just life for real once you get out of your 20s, and how that affects your relationships with other people. And I don't know what someone in their 20s, how they listen to this album. I wouldn't know how to listen to that album in my 20s. Damn, I could listen to all day in my 20s. Good Kid, Mad City, I could listen to all day in my 20s. Pimp a Butterfly, I could listen to all day in my 20s. Section 80, I could listen to all day in my 20s. OD, I could listen to all day in my 20s. I just don't know. This was such a specific album for a specific person. And I applaud Kendrick for it. But if you look at it in the scope of his discography, because we were talking about rappers that probably have the better discographies, period, I would put Kendrick very high up in who has a almost damn near perfect catalog.
Oh, you know what? When we were having the Kanye
So
conversation, he's probably the next person, percentage wise, because I adore this album. I I, I would say Kendrick has the highest percentage ever in hip hop. I think he's like, to me, he's at 100%.
do
He
you
has
start
had
at Section 80 or do you start at Good Kid?
I started Good Kid. Overly Dedicated and Section 80 are both fucking great, but I do take
Kendrick
those.
Lamar EP is great. But I wouldn't.
But yeah,
I would start
he
at
was
Section
so
80.
Section 80 is the earliest you could start.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with you just starting with the major label debut. I'm good with that. But either way, count Section 80 if you want to. I don't know, man. He's percentage wise, he might be the highest percentage. And then in terms of body of work, he's gonna end up in that conversation too. Like you said, Drake, when it comes to hits, no one's got a greatest hits like Drake. It's a
Well,
different animal.
they're two totally different artists. That's
So,
why
dude,
they couldn't even be compared. Kanye
totally
West is
different
the only one
experience.
that can be compared, because you can compare Kendrick and Kanye, and you can compare Kendrick and Drake, and that's
Correct.
why Kanye to me is the GOAT. No, you can't compare Drake and they're completely different artists. They
Right.
go in completely different lanes. They're
Kanye
not,
splits the difference in an odd
yeah.
way. You're completely right. I was at the Kendrick show at Barclays Center, and
I won as well.
so
Amazing show.
it's an amazing show.
So
And I'm sure you looked around and saw the way, I don't know if you noticed this, like that very young people were affected by it. Like,
yeah,
I saw teenagers, right? Like a lot of teenagers there really losing their minds. And it is so different. I've also seen Drake at arenas at the Garden 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Great time. Great time. But when you go to a Drake concert, you're going to a party. You're just simply going to a party to have fun, girls, dancing, great time. Yo, Kendrick is putting on rap clinics in front of 20,000 people a night, where everyone there is there for like a borderline religious experience, not a party, They're there for Kendrick Lamar. It's a different animal.
Pause, but his endurance to be able to rap that many words for because the show was
You
what, like
don't
2
have to
hours?
pause endurance. Didn't you just say you're growing up at 32 years old?
I'll never leave pause. I'm problematic. Leave me alone.
I don't
Um,
mind. I still use pause, but endurance, okay, I guess.
telling Kendrick he has a lot of endurance, it just feels like a pause to me. Uh, but yeah, the amount of words that he rapped for that long at you where you could understand everything he was saying in an arena where I think Big Steppers is not an arena album at all. That's why I was so curious to go to the show. Outside of being a Kendrick fan, I was like, how the fuck is Kendrick gonna do arena shows with this album?
Oh, that's interesting that you felt that way because I saw it as the exact opposite. I heard the album was like, oh, this is meant for big shows. This is practically a musical. He's setting this up for the tour. I'm almost surprised the tour is this short. I guess they'll announce European leg and
Yeah.
the rest
Oh, I'm
of the
sure they
world.
will.
But yeah, I didn't see it that way, Rory. I really struck. I was like, this is going to be a performance album. Although when artists drop albums at after once you get past like 4 or 5,
Mhm.
in my mind, it's like if you stumble into an amazing album, fantastic. If not, you're just trying to add a couple of songs to when you perform it, do live shows, right? Like you're
Yeah,
just
for sure.
adding 3 joints off each album. That's
Mhm.
like if you went and saw Paul Simon in 2015, you know what I'm saying? The amount of songs that were added from 1967 to 80, there was
Yeah.
90% of the show was there. And then the last 10% was the last 30 years. That's just how the
If
game works. Like that,
if 50 puts out an album today, he'd probably add one from the album.
you'd be
it
adding
would just,
one.
yeah, it would just be, it'd be his catalog that we love, and that's what I would go to a 50 Cent show for. So
Like when you go see Hove, when you go to see a Hove concert, you're going to get Story of OJ. And
no,
you're
that don't do that. That 444 show he did damn near the whole album.
no. But I mean, for future shows,
Yeah.
move
Oh
past
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah. For
He'll
sure.
do
Yeah,
he'll
you're
do
right. You're
Story
right.
of
You're right.
OJ. He'll do
Yep.
444. He'll do 3 joints
Maybe
off.
he actually might not do anything from 444. Yeah.
Or there's a chance he leaves that one alone. Although you got to do Story of OJ to me.
Yeah.
It's so
But
sing
the way
along,
it's, and yeah, it's definitely a concert record for sure.
even though
Um,
it's so fucking underground. Okay, so that's interesting that you So are you listening? So you are listening to Kendrick over and over again, but you don't think young people have the ability to do so?
I well, I had said originally after the first weekend of listening to it, I felt exhausted. I
Me
think
too.
this I think this album should have been called Damn. That was the first thing my man Reason hit me from TDE because him and I are both fucking rap nerds that just like to text each other about rap shit. And he was like, "What's your first thought about this?" And I was like, "I don't know. The only thing I know is that this should have been called Damn," because that's how I felt afterwards. Like
But
it was just like a ugh, damn. Like
that
but here's the thing. I didn't feel good after the album. Like
no. Honest to God, can I tell you? After the first weekend, I sort of was faking it till I made it. Like in the sense that I've heard enjoyable things, but I didn't feel like listening anymore. And then after the first weekend, it took me a couple of weeks. And then I started going back to it. And then by the time I ended up at the concert, I was like, I love this fucking album. This is because I loved it the first weekend theoretically because of the topics he was covering, especially
yeah.
like you said, when you've gone through life experience and you've had your share now getting to 32, trust me, if you think you learned it from the from
Yeah.
the 20s, you're gonna learn it in the
Oh,
30s even more.
I
So
don't doubt it.
yeah, this is just life now. So especially now Kendrick's experienced a lot, being the star that he is at 34 years old. But as an adult who just went through a divorce, I don't even know this, I'm divorced. That he spoke to a lot of real shit where I was like, wow, this is profound and amazing. I don't really feel like listening to it. Now, looking back a few months, I have to say I really do enjoy listening to it. And man, if you're out west, because he still has 5 shows in LA, Seattle, Portland, he has all those shows. Go see the fucking Kendrick show. You will not regret it.
I
That shit is
will ask
slammed.
I will ask, what do you skip on it now? I have the track list up. Because I'm like you. It took me a minute to go back to the album. I do still listen to it. I think it's a great album, but I don't think it is
I'm not
anything like
listening. I'm
anything
not
in his catalog ever, as far as what replay value. Could be.
The closest thing that he has to this in terms of dense listening is To Pimp a Butterfly. A lot of people
Yes.
were scared off by that. Like that was an album where like people who were not aware, like just didn't think about things like King Kunta as a lead single is all you need to know. You know what I mean?
Well, no,
Like
I think even before that,
the
Blacker the
Blacker the
Berry, which I don't
Berry.
even think even did that
Yeah.
make the album?
Yeah. Yes. Blacker the Berry, but there's another one that didn't make it. But Blacker the Berry's on there towards the end of it. But you lead with Blacker the Berry, and then the first commercial single is King Kunta, which by the way, that shit still rings in concert. Fucking crazy, right?
Oh no, I mean the fucking bass on that is insane.
It's the best. Okay, but looking at
But
this one,
if you're coming off Good Kid, Mad City, like I'm a fucking Foreign Exchange, Terrace Martin fan. Like I live in that world outside of my rap nerd shit. So I could digest To Pimp a Butterfly sonically drastically different than I think most people are like, all right, what is this bullshit? And
and a lot of people felt that way.
I understood why they said that. I
Yeah,
was
and
never like the Kendrick fan that was like, you just don't understand. Like, nah, I get it. This
no,
isn't really
listen.
palatable.
I get it. To me, it's both. I get why you feel that way, and also grow the fuck up and improve your fucking palate. Like, listen to better shit. Listen to
Or
fucking
listen to what you
Rory.
like. If it don't hit, if it
No,
don't make
no,
it,
Rory. That's the difference between me and you. This is why people like you and don't like me. Fuck what you like. This is what the shit you need. That Kendrick's that shit you need. And
okay,
it took
but
a long time for people to accept that. Let's just not forget the amount of people who fucking considered Kendrick weirdo rap. Rory, nothing poisoned my relationship with other rap artists more than my fanship for Kendrick Lamar.
okay, but you realize art is like food. Like if you don't like something, say somebody hates fucking fish. Are you gonna sit there and be like, yo, I love snapper? If you don't fucking love snapper, your palate sucks. And it's like, dude, I just don't like my taste buds don't like this. So
Okay,
some people with music just don't. I feel the same way about comedy. I think comedy is like food. I almost think politics to some degree is like food. You're not about to convince someone that already has something made up in their head about how they feel. So yeah, go.
absolutely.
So I'm
Absolutely.
not
However, listen, those are very strong points. Let me retort. So, you know, I enjoy a really nice restaurant, and I had a fucking taco supreme this weekend at Taco Bell that fucking slammed. But I can tell you a really good restaurant that I enjoy. If
sure.
you tell me that you want to have a conversation about food and you only know what the Supreme Taco Bell tastes like,
Mhm.
I don't give a fuck about your palate. It doesn't mean that you don't have a right to the taste. You do. But like if you tell me that all you want to hear is,
But see,
club records, that's your choice. But like it's not a
that's a
palate that
separate
I'm
point.
interested in.
That's a separate point because I would never argue with somebody that I realize has that taste. If that's just who you like, I'm not about to argue about someone that's only
But
ate
that's
at
the
Taco
problem
Bell.
is that but there are people, but
I'll
there
never do it because I just know who to have. You and I can have music conversations all day because I know your palate and I know mine.
I like
And
Taco
I
Bell
don't say that
too
in a
when it comes
superior
to
way, but I don't. I'm not about to argue with somebody that isn't in the similar mind state, and it's not a superior thing. I don't think I have a. I'm better. I just like what I like.
but listen,
I'm just not about to have those combos.
dude, there are people who you and I know and respect as artists, as media people, whatever, who really hated either. Hey, I don't know. Hate is a lazy term to use. Who really showed a lack of interest in Kendrick in ways
Sure.
that it's fucking weird. And I was just like, I didn't listen. I guess here's my miscalculation that I made. I thought it was a really good business decision to go with my gut and my heart and just go all the way for Kendrick because that's
Mhm.
what my heart told me. That's what my gut told me. My sensibility as the fucking snowflake progressive that I am, every part of me was like, Kendrick is the one. Put your chips in, you won't lose. I was right. I got it 100% correct. He could be on the fucking Mount Rushmore when it's done.
Don't do
He's
that. You're not the only white person that brought Kendrick
no,
to the
I'm not.
labels. I was an intern at Def Jam, and I said, "Hey, you know that Roots album that you guys just put out that no one in this office gave a fuck about? That's incredible. How I Got Over is an incredible Roots album.
Yeah, yeah.
there's this guy from the West Coast that's rapping over all the interlude beats on that. And I think this I was in an A&R meeting as an intern. I brought OD in there when it first dropped, downloaded that
Well,
shit.
the only difference between you and me is you're smarter than me, and you didn't end up doing it to the degree that it made other people hate you. Like it
Well,
made
I've never even brought that up before.
like Lupe will never fuck with me again, and I know a major part of it comes from my obsession with Kendrick, well, seeming quote unquote obsession. Be
I
honest,
remember those
Scott,
interviews.
people act like I go home at night and all I listen to, they act like you look at my jukebox, it's not fucking Paul Simon and Hall & Oates. I'm just listening to Kendrick 24 hours a day. But that's the perception people have. But to me, the way I looked at it was as a guy on commercial radio, that generally serves the masses soft taco supremes.
Mhm.
I was like, yo, we have fucking delicious, delightful salmon with a vegetable medley that
Yeah.
we're able to serve and everyone enjoys it. Let's fucking give this to everyone. And I thought that would only be received in a good way. I was just wrong. People, and I get it. People feel competition. So if you're out there saying Kendrick Lamar is the best rapper in the world, listen, if someone came out and said Rory is the best white hip hop podcaster of all time, I'd feel away. So I fucking get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I wish
But
I'd not gone as far. Me, nah, I don't wish that.
do you think there's any ego on your part involved in that? Let's say Kendrick put out the exact same body of work, but it never really hit. It never really made Kendrick to what he is now. He would be just a popular underground rapper that we all like sort of talk about, but it's the exact same body of work. Would you champion it the same way? And be more so on the, hey, I was the first one to know about this. I was the first one to champion this. I told y'all, and y'all were wrong. Now look.
It's a great question. You're fucking good, Roy. It's a very good question. So no, it wouldn't be the exact same. But I will say, for example, I have the perfect example though. Homeboy Sandman, my dude, right?
Okay.
Still my dude right now. I did my album. He'd been on every mixtape I ever did. He had a
Mhm.
song on my album 2 years ago. He bodied it, by the way. He's fucking weird. He's not what anyone expects. Yes, people, there are hip hop people who truly appreciate it, and MCs who are like, yo, they understand that he's the man, but he lives like a fucking nomad wandering around the earth. He's a maniac, right? I include him on everything. When people ask my favorite rappers, I always mention him. However, no, do I champion him to the degree that I championed Kendrick? No, that was the selfish, egotistical part, was
Mhm.
that Kendrick succeeding had a bigger benefit for me. It made me look better. It gave me more credibility. So, no, of course there's an ego part of that.
Yeah.
Anyone
No, I
who
appreciate the
yes,
honesty. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
like, yeah,
I get it.
and by the way, like also with that ego part of it, they were receptive to me. Not
Mhm.
everyone's receptive to me. Not everyone really wants my cosign, to be totally honest with you.
Mhm.
TDE, Top Dog, Top Dog is Top Dog's probably the biggest music executive who I've ever had a personal relationship with. I don't, bro.
He's one of
Don't
the
you
biggest
think?
music executives ever. It's just because he doesn't fucking talk to anyone and stays out of the light that people don't give him the credit that he really deserves. And I don't
And
think he gives a fuck about the credit. So
he
that's
doesn't.
ridiculous.
And by the way, how telling is that? So like, I don't know the industry, the big industry people. Yes, I know them like a handshake. Hello, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
The only one I talk to who will call and ask me for an opinion is Top Dog. Like that
Okay.
is the old. So that getting that reception probably also fed into it. Like I've openly admitted this before. I don't know if he's ever paid attention. I have openly admitted before that's a lot of my criticism on Drake has come from him kind of treating me like a dick. Like I'm a human being. I'm a fucking human
But
being.
well,
I, I
you're definitely sensitive.
no no.
And I don't mean that as in a
You're a
derogatory.
100%. Let me change what I'm
I
saying
don't mean
because
that in
you're
a
right.
bad way.
I'm a sensitive human being. I am
Mm.
a sensitive human being, and it factors into my shit. I try now to do it much better than I did previously. But I remember the last time I super pissed Drake off was when I was critical of the God's Plan video.
I remember that, yeah.
That was the last time I really pissed him off.
But
I
you were used as a pawn in that, right?
please, Rory, please give me your insight on this. I'm very interested.
It's just outside looking and shit. I think Drake is also a very sensitive human being,
Oh,
and
we're
I'm a
mirrored.
sensitive human being as well. Like I hope people don't. I'm being political and all that bullshit. Hope people don't think I'm saying that in a bad way. I don't think that's a bad thing to be sensitive.
No,
I think Drake had gotten so much focused so much on the hate he was getting, even though he was the biggest fucking artist ever. He did a video that he said, "All right, let me go see if anyone can hate on this." I think the intention of that video was to go, let's see if anyone can fucking hate on me giving money to unfortunate people. And if you hate on this, it's exposing that you just dislike me. Because if you hate on this, there's something wrong with you. And I think that was his strategy. Outside of, I do generally think Drake really wanted to help people out. I think Drake is
of
actually,
course, of
I
course.
think
I
Drake is a
agree
really
with you.
good guy. I don't think that came from so much of a strategy place, but I do think
It
in
existed though.
Drake's mind that
Yes,
he said, let's go see who hates on this. Because if you hate on this, it means you have a personal problem with me. And
and
I
both those
think
things can be
you
true.
were the first person that said, hey, this feels like, hey, look at me, I give back to charity.
Yeah, yeah.
And to some degree, I don't think you were wrong.
Of course not. It was not a crazy criticism. It was a very overt thought that everyone would
I
have.
didn't say it because I was just like, I mean, it's great that he's giving back, but
But real, because you're smarter
all
than
of
me.
us said, but we're both Curb fans. Like the anonymous donator episode.
Yep.
Like it's just
But by the way, that's real talk. I mean, in Judaism, that is a real thing. The ultimate mitzvah is supposed to be the ultimate donation in Judaism is supposed to be you don't know who you're giving to, and they don't know who they're receiving from. This video was the exact opposite. It was, I know who you are, you know who I am. You're right, though. His intentions, I'm sure, were all fucking pure.
I
And
think
then
they really were. But
at the end, he then went, you know what? Let's see if a motherfucker can hate on this.
because
And I get that.
look at the formula. It's he's at a high school dancing with the high school kids. Then he's giving money to people in wheelchairs, and like, there's not a thing in there that could be hateable.
And yet I found a way. So that was the last time we really got into it. And I said all of that to say, um, if Drake and I at that point had a better relationship and he had, like, let's say once ever wanted to do it, talk to me in any way, have an interview ever on any of my platforms, have a sit down one fucking time for one release, is there a chance that I decide to swallow those thoughts? I still would have thought it. The question is, do you say it? And that's my own sensitivity and personal bias. So he's right to be like, why? How could someone hate on me? Well, the person who could hate is the person who feels like you never really acknowledged them. That is life. I know I'm awkward for admitting it, and most people don't want to admit it. Everyone is running around here with chips on their shoulders about different ones, especially artists. You know this better than anyone, Rory. The artists are
Yeah.
walking around with it constantly. I just am
So
like,
so are the radio personalities. So
oh
yeah.
my. And by the way, and I fuck up because my brand has always been to just say, like, fuck it, it's just who I am. Why
but
be
that's
embarrassed who you are?
that's still, it's still your ego, because I feel like I've seen, even like with Drake stuff, and of course I grew up on Hot 97. When you got to Hot 97, I think I was 17 or 18, so still staple of my life at that point. So I watched all that shit, and I used to be like, all right, Rosenberg with a lot of this stuff is saying I want the credit for finding these artists, and it's a better look for me because I found them and all that. But that, you're still using them, so they don't owe you a interview or owe you something after that, because
Well, Drake particularly.
everyone did their job to push each other forward. You are on the radio and a DJ. You found someone, you got to some degree the credit for it. It pushed your job, it pushed their job. They delivered the
Right.
product to your job. So everyone did their job. At the end of the day, sometimes things aren't owed to anyone, and it is actually just fucking ego. Like, hey, I was the first one to shout you out on probably the most historical rap station ever. So now you owe me something when I call you. And that can get, and I'm not saying that's exactly how you think,
No, but
but
that's
it's a lot of radio and DJs like, yo, I was the first person to spin this. Like, they won't answer my phone. It's like, well, dog, if artists stop making music and deliver it to you, you don't have a job. So,
and by the way, your point is even better taken, Rory. Your point is even better made by the fact that Drake in particular, I didn't do anything for Drake. I mean, I maybe talked about him in a way that made him seem big, and I
Yeah,
would, I would
but
do
you was
little
always on the
shit.
early shit, bro. Like that, but
I was
those
on.
little down to like the who's next shit at SOBs like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, sure.
At a
I did
time
all
that
that.
that that shit mattered, bro. Like
It did. It really did. But at the same time, I'm just saying Drake didn't know me shit.
yeah,
And if I had to do it over again, something like the God's Plan thing, I would have just laid out on it. Like, was it compelling radio? Yes. It
yeah.
was funny. It was interesting. It makes people talk. But now when you get to your 40s and you're looking around at being like, why are some things harder for me than I feel like they should? And it's like, oh, because you've said crazy shit in the eyes of certain people. You've said a lot of crazy shit for a very long time, um and the fact of the matter is, I have a very short, I have a short leash too. I have a short leash.
Yes.
I have a shorter leash than others. And that's okay. I signed up for it. I signed up to have the shorter leash. So I can't then turn around and complain and be like, shit, everyone gives me a hard time when I say shit. It comes off different coming from me. I
And
have to be aware of that.
I had this exact same conversation with Russ when we did our interview with him, which was one of my favorite conversations I think I've ever had on
Yeah,
a
I saw a piece
podcast.
of that. It was really good.
So because Russ is very boisterous, and I think so much of what Russ says is extremely important. He's a super intelligent dude. Like he's a good person, but we had to
And
have that real
so sensitive.
conversation.
So
Oh, very,
sensitive.
very much so, and very
Right.
much wants to be. And again, I don't mean this in a bad way. I talk to Russ often, so I don't doesn't take it. Wants to be accepted. Is a
Oh
hip
yeah.
hop nerd that just wants everyone to be because
To,
he's
no, to
taking all
know
the right steps. Yes, he's
he wants them to know you do it for the right reasons. You did it on your own. You
it's
write,
quality
you
product.
produce.
Yeah.
It's quality. You have
Like,
fans. They
what am I
fucking
doing
love
wrong?
you. You sell out shows. You do everything, and he
Yeah,
just wants everyone to appreciate that.
which I
I
get
get
and
it.
I
I get it.
understand it, but I had to tell him so much of the stuff you say, you have to realize the face it's coming out of. I go through it too. And this is not woe is me on fucking white people in hip hop, but it's something we need to understand as guests to so much degree
Yep.
in this genre that we may be saying the right thing, but we shouldn't be the people saying it sometimes. And sometimes things come across nuts when it comes out of a fucking white mouth.
You're 100
And
percent right.
and when you say it
Right.
with bass in your voice and you say
Well,
certain things,
but by
it
the
comes
way,
across different. And that's the
you
way
are.
like let's all right,
You,
let's put you're gonna hate the point that I'm gonna go to next. The masterclass of the person that did the boisterous media shit, yet still kept every last industry relationship and is now moved into the safe zone is Charlemagne the God. He
yeah.
is now the safest person. He's shifting into safe world, which I get, bro. You old, you got I'm sorry, you're older, you have children, like you can't do the salacious shit anymore, as you shouldn't. And
You
you
shouldn't want
want to
to.
go into a different, yeah, of course not. And you're going into a new route. So I get why you're safe. I don't kill you the way other people do about being safe. But you went through saying all the fucking insane things, still kept your
By the
relationships
way, I just
in
want
the
to say,
industry,
and
and now came
I hate
out
that
clean.
100 times
How'd you
more.
come out clean?
Hold on, 100 times more insane than anything I would ever even think about
Oh,
saying.
not even
Clear.
close.
I
Not even
wouldn't
close.
even, the things that he got some level of notoriety for. If I had breathed those words, my shit would have been finished from jump. Just to be clear. So
And by the way, I think that's okay. And that this is where everyone will
of
come in
course,
my mentions and say I have white guilt and that I'm an N-word lover and all that other shit.
no,
No, that's it
Rory,
should
I
be
agree
okay
with you.
coming from Charlemagne and not oh no, I know you do. I'm saying
I
it
agree with you.
shouldn't come from us. It should come from Charlemagne, not
Now,
us.
now, I still think there are things that he should be held to task for. It doesn't fucking
Sure.
matter who you are.
All of us should.
And has he has gotten away with things at times that I'm like, I don't understand how that doesn't get talked about, but okay. But that being said, you are 100% right. And I fully sign up for the role of just not being able to say certain things and now look back and go, shouldn't have said that. That sounded weird. Why would you have said that? But at the time when I was really doing this the most and probably burned bridges that are still burned down to this day,
Mm.
it was when I was trying to find my voice in hip hop on, of all places, Hot 97. You know this better than anyone growing up here. You can't show up on Hot 97 without fucking bass in your voice and confidence in what the fuck you're saying. You have no chance. Okay. There was no version I mean, honestly, real talk, there's never been a me before me. There was
No, there
never
hasn't.
been an outspoken white dude in hip hop before me, ever. I was the first person to be like, I'm going to say stupid, privileged,
Mm. Yeah.
dumb, but very passionate and well-meaning opinions. I
Yeah.
didn't
That
know.
was never in hip hop.
It wasn't there before. And it was some of it was good and really helped me gain success. And some of it I regret. That's just I didn't even understand the privilege that I was bringing to the table. I
And
really did.
you were also in a weird situation where it's like a a star or like even Miss Jones to some degree, um, everyone knew what type of radio personalities they were. And then you had like a sway. And there's this big gap between those two things. One is going to be like this amazing journalist interviewer, and then there's going to be somebody that's also good at interviewing, but says the crazy shock jock, salacious, let's hold people accountable shit that we love in radio.
Mhm.
Now you had to play the game of being in the middle of that.
I really did. That's a great point,
and
Roy. Yeah.
and radio had shifted at that point with the internet, and I do feel hindsight's 2020. I'm not saying I would have had the answers at the point, but I do think Hot 97 got very fucking arrogant and thought that their brand meant that they didn't have to shift with the times as far as the internet and everything going on. We're Hot 97, no matter what. We're always going to be the best. We're
By
the
the way,
number
you're
one shit.
correct. You're correct about what happened. You're not correct about the logic.
Got
It
you. Okay.
wasn't. It wasn't as much that logic, dude, as bad
It came,
infrastructure.
but I'm telling you,
We fucking knew. We
it
all
came
knew
it came
what we had to do.
across it came across that you guys were very arrogant, that we don't need to do anything because
It's hilarious too because we still have it even up against Power, who is part of a massive conglomerate, and we are a much smaller company,
for
and we've
sure.
always been thought of as the big fucking asshole, big brand people. It's just part of what the brand is from being first. But
Well,
you're right. We did not pivot. I mean, you were. I'm never going to argue with on that. Our pivot was fucking weak.
yeah, and it just but also it's kind of like to some degree the 50 Cent Murder Inc. thing. Like they ended up having the feds raid the shit and we're going through trial. So all their funds were done. As soon as the Breakfast Club came outside of the talent that was the Breakfast Club, they were syndicated their voices were fucking everywhere. They pivoted better to YouTube and the internet better than any radio station. Like you guys were very much Murder Inc. when Power 105 figured out how to utilize the internet and the syndication that they did with that fucking show.
Well, hold, but you
Like
have to
because if you get into like the 50s, and I love the Murder Inc. doc that's out now, you do see that the feds rating that did ruin a lot of what Murder Inc. could have done to go against 50. And I feel like Hot going against iHeart was difficult with the resources they could have had with what the Breakfast Club versus a Hot 97 morning show really could have been.
Yo, it's an impossible, bro. You guys, even the word syndication, like they are now syndicated. At first, a lot of that quote unquote syndication is done through a company that syndicates you and puts you on stations.
Yeah.
iHeart's not a syndicator. iHeart owns the stations. They just say your morning show's off. This morning show is on. This is what we do now. Oh, local guy in South Carolina. I'm sure you had a great career. The Breakfast Club is on here. The Breakfast Club is on here. And they did a great job. And by the way, like, listen.
Well, Hot 97 did that when I was in high school and I didn't like it.
No, where?
With Big Boy.
Well, oh, you mean
At one point I was listening to Big Boy in New York City.
There was one moment in time. And by the way, without that moment, I don't know if I would have ever been a morning guy because they put me and Cipha on as the early morning show.
Yeah.
And then they put on Big Boy from 7 to 9. Exactly. And you didn't fucking like it. It sounded Big Boy.
And I love Big Boy, but I don't like to hear him in New York City.
It doesn't sound right. It's
when I got to LA, amazing.
Exactly. When you feel that 80-degree temperature driving down the 405, it sounds exactly right.
LA accent, perfect.
It does not work. But no, listen, there's a lot of different things that happen that I think could have been done differently. At the same time, as far as all that goes, and there's nothing, I don't know how much different I would want it to be. I guess there's certain things, of course, I guess, if put some respect on my name, what happened on our show instead of the Breakfast Club, like, I would have been happy about that. Sure. But at the same time, knowing the sort of thing that we do, the fact that we've gotten to do it for this long, I have fully embraced. We are a local radio
Different
show.
shows. They're
We are a
different shows.
local
They
hip
always
hop.
were different shows.
We're a local hip hop morning show. By the way, I just want to say this for anyone who sees this. Everyone, the competition between digital and radio is two different things. They obviously smoke us when it comes to the digital game. They do not smoke us when it comes to the radio game. So just everyone, people don't understand that like the last thing I looked at, we were up on them 18-34 and 18-49 sizably. And by the way, sometimes they're up on us. But my point is, we're very even in a radio situation. But when it comes to the battle of new media on YouTube and shit, how can I?
Yeah, but we obviously know the pivot in which that can work for your career. It may be more important for the person rather than the company. Like Charlemagne could be lower than y'all in the morning show stuff, but his celebrity off the YouTube stuff has shifted his career so drastically that he could be super low in any radio number and it's not going to fucking matter to his life. But again, it's all hindsight that happened in the last 12 years.
Well, and even with
radio is drastically changing.
Even if you had the foresight for it, I don't know how much could MS have done to compete with iHeart at that time. I mean, we're talking Apple, fucking skyscrapers. It's a different thing.
How'd you feel about the breakup?
The breakup, more great marketing from the Breakfast Club. I mean, I think I was disappointed because I was in Cuba and a bunch of people hit me about it. Like it was like really big news. And then when I saw the follow-up, I was like, oh, Angela got her own show. She's going to do her own thing. It seemed painfully obvious to me that her and Charlemagne have not been the best of friends for years. I mean, I don't even listen to the show, and I know that is obvious. Turning on the show. So considering that that's how I felt, I thought it was a pretty diplomatic ending, honestly. And my assumption is the real interesting piece is what happens next for Envy and Charlemagne. Are they going to add someone else in, or will this eventually mean the end of the entire thing and Charlemagne goes solo on that ass like PMD?
I don't know if all right. I totally understand why Charlemagne and Envy would stay with the show, even though they're both doing a bunch of other things outside of it. Who's going to turn down, I'm sure, the insane fucking bag that iHeart gave Envy and Charlemagne to stay with that show? And obviously to Angela for the new show. So I get why they're staying. I don't think it's a focus in their lives at all. I think they both have so many other things going on that they're focused on. So I don't know if they're really going to care that much about the replacement and what the legacy of the now new Breakfast Club will be. To be honest, I just think they have so many other things going on that this isn't a priority to them. It was let me overcharge for what they did to the Cold Crush, because I'm sure when they first got to the fucking Breakfast Club, they didn't make the money that they should have. And now let's hit them over the fucking head and get as much money as I possibly can to stay here. I will show up at fucking 5 a.m. and I will leave at fucking 9 a.m. and I will go about the things I actually passionate about, which I don't shit on at all.
I haven't been that up on it. I didn't know. Did Envy and Charlemagne in fact sign a deal to stay on?
The contract, this is public stuff. I'm not talking about somebody's contract. Envy was super public about it. Envy was like, oh, I got kids, bro. I resigned. Like, what do you want from me? And I totally understood that. So I mean, I would assume that Charlemagne resigned too, because the contract was up.
And Angela, by the way, went to another company, or her show's staying within iHeart?
No, it's within our iHeart. Yes, she's still with the company. So she resigned just in a different place. So, which again, I was jealous of their breakup. Clearly, if you saw mine, of course I was. Like, I was like, wow, this looks so great.
That's how you break up.
Peaceful.
That's how you break up. Wait, but so what time slot is Angela going to?
I don't know. She didn't give me much details. I know she's with the Breakfast Club, I think, till the fall.
Yeah.
And then it starts. You'd have to think from a radio perspective, Angie, the legend that she is, and clearly with the accident, thank God she's okay. And, Angie's kind of just been falling back a little bit. There is an open space for a midday woman to really control radio and also the digital space of what radio is. And
Oh,
I think Angela, this is probably the biggest opportunity for her.
oh
Of
yeah.
course, the
If they
Breakfast
give
Club is
her,
in
if they give
Radio Hall of
her,
Fame shit, but
if they give her syndicated. By the way, them being in the Hall of Fame at this point is a fucking joke. Let me just say that. That is
why?
it's fucking crazy, dude. They literally they're 12 years old. They're cats who just got put in. So, and this is the same as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They're cats who just got put in. They've been doing radio for 55 years. Like, fucking, when did Donnie Simpson go into the radio? I think the same
Okay.
class.
I won't argue first ballot or anything like that. You may be right in that regard. The Breakfast Club deserves to be in
Why?
the Radio Hall of Fame.
Because they're famous? Is
It
it
has
because
been
it's like
the one of the biggest staples of hip hop radio, period.
Okay.
And this is someone I don't get along. Charlemagne and Envy don't like me. So this is coming from a very objective fucking place.
I know, no. I know that you are, but I'm just honestly.
How would they not? They were the staple of, and let's even get
they're the
into
staple of YouTube. They have been the staple of YouTube radio for the last 15 years.
Okay, what's
fed by a corporate monster that is unstoppable, that cannot be competed with by any other radio company. Now, I'm not saying they wouldn't one day deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. It's not my cup of tea. But when I see that Russ Parr and Donnie Simpson just went to the Hall of Fame, pardon me, it's hard for me to go, oh, I'm glad the Breakfast Club is getting their dues. By the way, no one will ever even consider putting me in the Radio Hall of Fame, ever. Doing mornings and afternoon drives in the #1 market in the country, I will never sniff that shit.
Okay, but all right, look at this. I'm not going to argue with you about the other people that should have gotten in earlier in the Breakfast Club getting in earlier than them. I will fully argue what's one of the most important things to push a genre forward, to push a market forward, to push an entire conglomerate forward, is to pivot. They showed you how radio could still be relevant in a time when radio is no longer relevant. So they are the epitome of that.
That's a bullshit argument, Rory. For the record, radio has more listeners than podcasts, bro. Radio's not dead. That narrative is
I don't know. I don't think radio's dead. Don't get me wrong.
I think you just said radio's not relevant. In a time in which radio is not relevant. I'm just saying more normal people, not fucking weirdos who listen to our podcast. Normal people turn on the fucking radio.
Who have kids, drive to work, everything.
Is it down a lot? It's down a lot. Yes, I'm not a fucking delusional maniac, but it is still relevant.
Okay, so eventually,
don't go all academics on me, okay?
Those people are going to die. I'm going to go dark on you. That whole group, all those people are going to die. And relatively soon.
Next to the Breakfast Club, they'll be lined up next to
the whole genre of kids now, even my age, don't listen to the radio yet. We still know how radio is relevant, and I think you guys do a good job with it now. As far as that, Hot 97 will remain relevant because you guys pivoted, and I think the Breakfast Club and iHeart proved how to do that. So yes, you can say right now radio is not dead. I agree with you. Radio is still very important, especially for fucking pop artists. If you're not on the radio, you're not a pop artist.
Getting to the next level, you still need radio for sure.
But
underground
eventually, that generation, the people that are 40 plus, are going to pass away, and MS, iHeart will still be a company. And guess what? They'll still have a fucking job because we have seen how radio people are now pivoting into the digital space to keep a radio brand relevant.
What you just put together was a fantastic soliloquy of an argument, okay? And let me just say, through all my ranting and raving, yes, I think when it's all said and done, the Breakfast Club would make sense in the Hall of Fame. I absolutely think that we would deserve it as well, and I don't think we'll ever get that nod. And the things that we cover locally are so different and important that they're not able to do as a syndicated show. Yeah. But we are not sexy and part of a big company. I don't think we'll ever get that nod. But everything you just said, I don't know that whole spiel, while it leads to yes, they're a known commodity on the internet, and that is obviously it's amazing for the three of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, is iHeart not still bankrupt? I don't even think they're a profiting company. I don't know that ends up being the saving grace for radio as an industry. I
Well,
really don't.
I'm speaking within our genre. I would be ignorant if I started talking about radio as an
But
absolute
even
whole
here,
or iHeart in that regard. I'm only speaking to things that I know about, which is the genre of hip hop and R&B.
well, so but I don't know the amount of dollars.
Within radio.
I don't know how much. No, listen, they get an incredible amount of views, so I'm sure they're making
And
real money.
I will never not say that any great shit that happens in hip hop and R&B should not be in the Hall of Fame of the overall scope of things. Anything that is monumental in rap and hip hop should be in the Hall of Fame of anything music related. So I'm saying that same thing in radio, even though I don't fully understand all of radio. I understand hip hop and R&B.
And I should
so
also
if something happens in hip hop and R&B radio, it should be championed the same way some fucking white country station is as well.
Okay,
So,
stop trying to get a cheap pop here. Of course, that goes without saying.
Yeah, that was easy. I know.
Out of here. You don't need this here. You're good. But here's the thing. Can I just say the truth too? The whole Radio Hall of Fame shit, up until like basically the Breakfast Club getting in because that became a thing because they're that big. I don't even know what the fuck. I don't even know what the politics are of the Radio Hall of Fame. I don't know anyone who's ever went to the award show. I don't know anyone who's ever even actually. I don't know shit about it. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I have a great understanding of what that means industry wide. The Breakfast Club had an indelible mark. There's no doubt. Cipha and I talked about this when their show broke up, about how we wanted Angela on our show initially. It didn't work out, how different history would have been if that hadn't happened. Now, the truth is, I think no matter where Charlemagne ended up, he is the heir apparent to Wendy Williams, and that is what was going to happen. Like he was going to do that shit. Like
no matter what, he was going to find a way. I think, of course, being in New York City with the biggest conglomerate ever, of course, helped. But I would never say
he was going to do it.
No matter what, Charlemagne was going to be Charlemagne.
When he first got on, and I wasn't even that familiar with him, and I got wind of just like what his shtick was, dude, right away, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a fucking problem because this shit. If you're again, I'm not going to be able to go all the places he goes. So he's gonna go down roads that I'm like, I'll stay just talking about nerdy rap shit here because this is what makes sense for me to do. You know what I mean? So I give credit where credit's due, man. They've had.
But would you want it like?
And no, I wouldn't want that.
I'm about to say I don't want to. I want
the credit. I want the credit, Rory. You know what I want? I want to get a show. I want to get a late night show on cable. And when the first year fucking bombs, rather than cancel it, they retool the entire show, get a new showrunner and rename it. That's what the fuck I want. Instead, I got a late night complex show. We tried to squeeze in an entire late night show onto the internet. By the way, proud of it. It did actually come off.
I enjoyed the show.
No, there was some cool shit. Yeah. But listen, that's what I would like. But in terms of like, no, I wouldn't change it because I really wouldn't have wanted to talk about and do the things that they do on that show. And it's not a diss to them. People really enjoy it. But we spend more of our time sometimes on fucking shit that's boring, like politics and really detailed New York local shit. Yeah. But frankly, it's a better fit for me. And I think I feel better as a human being doing it.
I'm gonna trip you out. You interviewed Ninth and Fonte at 92Y.
Tribeca, yes.
And Fonte and I talk about this quote all the time, which is how much it kind of changed my perspective of shit. You asked him how everyone talks about like, yo, Fonte is one of the greatest. Why didn't he get where Drake is, where Kanye is? They always say that Fonte was their biggest influence and like you should be up there and all that. And Fonte was like, wait, first of all, Kanye West has it all. All means all. All means all. All means bullshit. I'm cool. I don't want it all. Because if I have it all.
That's so Fonte. I don't even remember that quote, but that is so Fonte. His understanding of word, the way he uses words. Yeah. You're not thinking when he says all, and then he adds the, all.
Yeah, you have it all. I don't want it all. And when you have it all, it comes with all. So, yeah.
Nah, bro. You're 100%, bro. Listen, Charlemagne had to do a lot of tough shit and say a lot of crazy shit. He has to stay protected all the time. Like, I live a pretty normal Manhattan life. People see me say, hey, what's up, man? How are you? Local radio host. Oh, I know that guy's on ESPN now. like knock on wood, God willing. I mean, every once in a while you get a crazy person. We told a story on One Up a few weeks ago. A guy came up and fucking rocked the Bell show and started talking shit. But day to day in life, no, you're right. That's a really good point, dude. Do I want it all? Like,
All would
or do I,
suck.
all is a lot. Like, I get to talk wrestling, I get to talk rap, I get to talk sports. Do I need it all? It's a great point, dude. Great point.
It's Fonte is my life coach
Dude,
by far.
you know what? Listen, there's a lot of things, I feel like you've done a really fantastic job um building your brand, just being who you are, and you've built your own path, and I think you've avoided some of the trappings that I did not avoid at times. I think you've done a really good job building your brand. And sometimes, like, I see the amount of, you know, excitement around your podcast, and I'm like, there are all these things that like could make me feel jealous, but because I love you and am rooting for you, it doesn't bother me. The only thing that bothers me is that you're still in that much regular contact with Fonte, because we do not talk enough. Like,
Oh, I
tell
Fonte and
tell
I
Te-
Fonte and I talk. I'm not even at least twice a week.
tell Fonte the last time I texted him, I was left on red, and dude, he is the best. And I'm not saying that like my ego hurts. I'm saying like I miss him. He's fucking the best dude. Like, that is Fonte beyond everything, talent, voice, blah blah blah. Just, he's one of the best people to talk to, bro, ever. I'm gonna hit
He
him right now. We're done.
I I will say when the pod breakup happened, he reached out to me, and I will say he was probably one of, outside of like immediate family, he was one of the most important people through my insanity of that entire thing. Because obviously Fonte went through similar shit with
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
little brother, and like he could relate to it, and knew and identified with exactly what I was going through. The advice that I'll keep to myself and in our
Mm-hmm.
private conversations, was one of the most important people in that entire thing. Like Fonte, the same way with the quotes, like with the all shit. He used to say just certain sentences to me during that entire thing where I'd be like, oh, I never even fucking looked at it that way. Like
Bro,
he's just a really good, outside of him being my favorite rapper ever, and like that entire shit. He's just such a fucking good human
oh yeah.
that's so rare to fucking find. Like,
He,
to me, it trips me out more. We at talking about the whole verse that I heard. The fact Fonte and I are friends is way trips me out way more than any relationship I have with Jay Z.
because of how big of a Fonte fan you are and how
Yeah,
close you are
just
now.
growing up, and then just our actual friendship. Yeah, like, bro, I fucking slept at his house. Fucking wife cooked dinner. Like that's family at this point to me. So
Yeah, he is. He
that's
is. See, I'm jealous now. See, you want to get me there by the end of the
well,
show.
you have to go to Raleigh, North Carolina.
I'll go down to fucking Raleigh. No, the last time I saw Tay, I saw him a few years ago. We picked up talking again right around, of course, right around my divorce, dude, because he's that kind of dude. Like,
Mm.
he's the kind of dude who, because I've known Tay for whatever 20 years, and obviously relationships have ebbs and
You're
flows.
on the minstrel show, which is ironic and hilarious.
Yeah,
And
and
fucking crazy. By the way, that's an amazing thing to say with your life. Like, you're on a classic hip hop album.
hey, that's very sweet of you. Thank you. I'm also on the Azalea Banks album, but no one talks about that the same way. By the way, slept on album. Hey Rory, we did this for twice as long as
Yeah,
we
oh, yeah, for
planned.
sure. I knew this was gonna happen though.
I'm glad. Yeah, you were like asking me about schedule, and I was like worried you were in a rush, when really you were just being smart and being like, I just need to know what time, because this is going to take forever.
We're gonna talk for a while. I knew this was gonna happen. That's why I was like,
Yeah,
if you want to do earlier, let's do earlier. Because
yeah, you're
now
very
it's
smart.
10:30 at night, and
I know, and I have to start fucking talking again because
oh yeah,
you know
I do too. I have to record tomorrow.
because I didn't pivot well on doing this bullshit terrestrial shit in 6 hours. Um, great talk, dude.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Peace. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, Rory from Rory and Mall.